Hi, this is Janet with Paper and Spark, and I'm here today with part 2 of the video tutorial series on how to use your Amazon seller spreadsheet. Make sure you check out part 1, which gives you an overview of what the spreadsheet does, along with the first few steps of how to import your Amazon monthly reports into the spreadsheet. And now we'll move forward with how to import the Amazon report for numbers users and next steps for both Excel and numbers users. So thanks for tuning in and let's get started. Okay, now a quick rewind for all you numbers users. The process to copy and paste this into your Amazon seller spreadsheet is going to be a little bit different. So let's walk through how to do that real quick. Once you open your Amazon report CSV file in numbers, this is what it's going to look like. You'll select all the data by clicking on the 1 in row 1, and don't let go of your mouse. Click and drag all the way down till you get to the end of your data, and then with all of it highlighted, you can copy this data, either by doing Command C or Edit Copy. Okay, so then you can navigate back to the Amazon seller spreadsheet, also in numbers, and head over to the monthly tab that you're working with, which right now is going to be July. And then just click on cell A1, like I did right here, the cell in the topmost left corner of this tab, and paste your data. So you can right click paste or edit paste or Command V, and voila, all my data is now copied here, and it will now show me some July totals on those blue rows over on my monthly summary tab. So now I'm seeing some July data, and that's how you do it in numbers. So for the rest of the video tutorial, I'm going to switch back to using Excel, but the instructions will work just about the same in numbers or even Google Sheets, so you can continue to follow along. Alright, so again, just to remind you where we've at, we just successfully imported our activity report for the month of July into our Amazon seller spreadsheet. I'm going to see amounts generated for that month on all the blue rows on my monthly summary tab. If I don't see an amount there, like for gift wrap credits or Amazon FBA fees, for example, then I can assume that I didn't have any of that type of transaction for that month. So again, here I can see my total Amazon sales, my Amazon sales tax I collected, my shipping credits, etc. And remember that shipping credits are simply what the customer paid me for shipping that month. Something else that I want to note right now while we're talking about this is that the Amazon sales totals in this row already include refunds. So if you issued a refund to an Amazon customer, it's already included net in this Amazon sales amount. You don't have to separately include any refunded amounts on this white refund row here. That being said, if you ever issue refunds from any non-Amazon source, like eBay or PayPal or whatever, you do need to manually enter that refunded amount right here on the white refund row on the spreadsheet. And refunds should be entered here as negative amounts. So for example's sake, let's say I did some PayPal sales this month and I issued a $20 refund via PayPal. I would need to enter a negative $20 here. Okay, so that is going to reduce my total revenue by the refunded amount. That's why it needs to be entered as a negative. That's the only time you ever want to enter anything as a negative on this spreadsheet. Also, for example's sake, let's say that in the month of July I did a local craft show and I want to enter my sales from that craft show on this spreadsheet. So I'm going to rename my custom income line to this local craft show, and then I'll navigate over to the month of July and I'll enter my total sales of $1,000 for that craft show. So just remember, the goal is to have all your sales from all sources entered here on this spreadsheet, not just your Amazon stuff. So that pretty much sums up how you can use the refund section of your Amazon seller spreadsheet. Now let's talk about entering expenses. Now that we've got our Amazon report imported, you can see that the first 3 blue rows of the expense section have automatically pulled your Amazon fees for the month. But let's walk through some examples of how to enter the rest of your business expenses. This is probably going to be the bulk of your bookkeeping work every month, is just entering all those receipts and all your purchases into the spreadsheet. Now, the spreadsheet is set up so that you can enter those business expenses on a transaction by transaction basis. So theoretically and ideally, for your own sake, you're entering those receipts or purchases as you go. I'd recommend setting time aside each week or each month, depending on the volume of your expense transactions, to enter your receipts and your purchases into the spreadsheet. Now, I mentioned before, the spreadsheet includes 7 different expense tabs or categories down here at the bottom: postage, materials, tools and equipment, advertising, professional services, office expenses, and other. These are color-coded according to the corresponding row on the monthly summary tab, and you'll enter your expenses on whatever tab seems to apply the best to whatever the receipt is for. And then the total each month that you enter on the tab will populate directly here on the applicable row of the monthly summary tab. I chose these expense categories because they roughly correspond to your taxable deductions on your Schedule C, and they're also just kind of the most common expense categories that a Amazon seller business owner is going to have. But remember, you've got some options to customize if you feel like something's missing. You can always use this other tab or rename some of these custom rows to better fit your needs. Okay, so just to show you how you would go about entering expenses, let's say I've got some office expenses that I want to enter for the month of July. Okay, so I'm going to do office expenses for the month of July here. I've already got some entered for example's sake, but let's say I went to Office Depot and I bought a bunch of printer paper for my office, and so I'm going to start by entering the date, 7/30/16. Now pay attention to how I'm entering the date, okay? I'm going to enter it numerically. I'm going to do it in the standard US format, which is going to be month and then date. And I can either do it as 7:30 or I could do it as 07:30 if I wanted to. The important thing is just to enter it as numbers with the slashes and not as words like entering the word July 7th. The spreadsheet won't recognize that. You've got to enter it in the month date format. If you don't put 2016 or 16 as the year, it'll automatically date it as the current year, so that can save you a little bit of time. Just make sure you enter the date correctly, or the monthly summary tab won't know to total that expense for that month. It all depends on the date. So I'm going to enter the date, and then I say I spent $30 at Office Depot. That's the amount and the vendor. My description can be something like printer paper or whatever I bought, and then I can put my payment source, which will tell me did I use my business credit card? Did I use my PayPal account? Whatever payment method you use, you don't have to enter anything here, but it just makes, tracking that expense or giving proof of that expense easier if you ever get audited or if you need to, look back in the past and figure out more details about an expense. So I'll say I use my bank account, and then other is just if there's something else that you wanted to enter regarding that expense. So something else to note on all of these expense tabs, you can filter and sort your expenses if that helps for any reason. And to do that, you just click the drop down arrow on any of these columns that you want to filter or sort by. And okay, let's say you want to look at only your expenses for a certain vendor. You might go to the vendor drop-down menu, and to filter, you would unclick select all, and then let's say I just want to look at my GoDaddy expenses. So I'd click GoDaddy. Now this tab is showing me only my expenses that are on this tab to the vendor listed as GoDaddy. Okay. If you want to clear it, you just go back to the drop-down menu and do clear menu. Let's say that I've got, I'll enter a few other example expenses just with some random dates and prices. So let's say I'm recreating some past data and I've just got my big pile of receipts and I'm just typing them in as I go, all willy-nilly in whatever order. And now I've got all these expenses, my dates are out of order, and I need to sort my data to be in chronological order. That's no problem. I can go to my date column, hit the drop-down menu, and just click ascending, and now it's going to resort my expenses by date. So these drop-down menus are really handy for helping you sort or filter your data. You might want to, see all your transactions over a certain dollar amount for whatever reason or whatever. There's lots of things that you can do, and once you start really entering a lot of expense transactions into these tabs, it can be a really helpful feature. So that pretty much sums up example of how to enter those expenses in your expense tabs. And after you do that for each month, you can go back and see like, okay, now I see I spent $137.93 for office expenses in the month of July. And that will always go back in total if you're doing it correctly. You can go back to your office expense tab and look at what you've entered, and that will tie to the $137.93 that you're seeing for July. That's how you can check yourself. So that pretty much sums up how to enter your monthly expenses into your Amazon seller spreadsheet. In our last final video, we're going to cover the last bit of the spreadsheet, which is going to be the sales tax tab. So make sure you check out video number 3 to see how to use your sales tax tab and just kind of a little summary of concluding your bookkeeping work each month with the Amazon seller spreadsheet.